Hey guys, Dina here with you for a side crow tutorial. So if you saw the crow pose tutorial and you've been practicing, you've moved through the modifications, you feel pretty confident in your crow pose, then you're ready to start to shake things up a little bit and find some different variations. And so side crow might be a new challenge for you. So let's give it a shot. All right, so let's get started. Side crow, you set it up basically the same way. You start in the same position as you do with regular crow. So we're going to come onto the balls of our feet. And we're going to spread the fingers open nice and wide, making sure that you get lots of space there. And we're going to plant those hands on the floor underneath our shoulders. And from here is where it starts to change. We're going to take the knees and we're going to twist and pivot so that our knees point to the sides of our mat. Careful to leave the hands right where they are underneath the shoulders. And then you're going to start to take a strong bend in the arms, creating something close to a 90-degree angle. Think chaturanga arms. Because what we're going to do is create a shelf, again, on the backs of our arms that we're going to rest our knees on. And for a beginner variation, we're also going to rest our hips on. So back to center, hands to the floor, find that deep twist. And as you start to bend those elbows and shift your weight forward, again, very important, keep your eyes low and keep them ahead of you on the floor. Because what that's going to do is going to keep you reaching long and keep you lifted. If you start to drop the head, you're going to start to fall over. And so you're going to hook the outside of this knee right here behind the elbow, or just somewhere in this space on the upper arm. And then for this beginner's variation, we're going to let our hip rest on the opposite arm. So start to shift your weight forward, and you're going to have to keep it very low and start to rest the knees on one side, hips on the other side. And then as you shift that weight forward, you're going to start to bring those feet up and find a little bit of balance. Let me show you what that looks like from the side. Stand to give a few bit. All right, so from the side, that same pose. So knees point to the side, hands underneath the shoulders. And then as we start to bend those arms and find those 90-degree angles. Knees rest on one side, hips rest on the other side, and then start to shift it forward and start to pick up the feet. And then bring everything back into center. Again, we're pulling that belly button in, keep that gaze low, and keep it forward. And so that's going to be our first variation, our beginner variation of side crow. All right, so for our next variation, a little more advanced variation of side crow, we're going to challenge that balance just a little more. So instead of allowing knee and hip to rest on the arms, we're going to find a little bit of a deeper twist, and we're only going to balance on the one side. We're going to leave that hip lifted and keep it flying. So again, I'm going to show you this one from both sides. So we'll start with his knees to the edge, hands to the floor underneath the shoulders, and then maybe even twist it a little bit deeper. So rather than the outer edge of the knee coming in contact with the back of the arm, try to aim more toward the center, that space between your knee and your hip. To kind of get the deepest twist possible. Ground that hand into the floor right under the shoulders. Now the second hand, the one that's not going to have anything resting on it, you've got the option to take that one a little wider. So maybe play with that space. You're going to need to find whatever feels right for you and where you find that balance. Now very important is that as you find those chaturanga arms, that we try not to allow those elbows to fly to the side. no matter where we space our arms, we're gonna keep those elbows tucked in tight and keep them close to the body. Number one, knees are gonna be resting on one side, and then number two, that just kind of holds everything in and tight. Remember to pull that belly button toward the spine, push, open through that chest, and take that gaze forward. So let's put all that together. Knees to the side, ground down through the first hand, second hand, I'm going to take it out a little bit wider, and then as I start to hinge forward, finding that balance and then lifting those toes from the floor. And I can start to open and twist those feet out to the edge. Keep the gaze low, keep looking ahead of you on the floor, and then as you're ready, you start to bring it back through center. And I'll show you one more time, side view. So we're going to twist those knees. Come in a little bit further in, not the outside of the knee, but a little bit higher up on your leg. And then you start to tip forward. Keep those elbows close. And then as the weight leaves the toes, go ahead and keep them together. Pull them up and to the side and keep that gaze low and forward. Keep breathing. And then we'll bring it back through center. And that's our side crow. So let's talk about some options. All right, so some options for side crow. Also, just some common mistakes that people start to feel when they get started with this one. Number one, as far as some common mistakes, is that not taking your gaze down low and then out in front of you on the floor. When we drop our head and we start to look right below us or even a little closer to our body, that shift in our gaze, it shifts our balance, and we just kind of start to tip forward. So keep it lifted. Keeping that gaze lifted is also going to keep your chest lifted and keep everything pulling in and up, and then tuck it in nice and tight. Second mistake that I did mention also is the elbow position. So making sure that those elbows are not flying out. We're going to keep those elbows in. As we bend, the elbows are going to point toward your body, and then depending on which variation you're working on, they're either going to be used as a shelf for your knees and your hips or just your knees. But either way, we're going to keep it in, keep it tight, and try not to open up, because in addition to that, shifting our weight and not really giving us the stability we need, it's also going to place a little bit too much weight or pressure onto the outside edges of your wrist, and you're going to run the risk of some injuries. So keep it in, keep your weight forward above your wrists, and keep everything nice and safe. All right, we have our assistant for one more. So modifications actually are the same as we would use for our crow pose. So using our blocks, you can take the block under the head, and so again, to give yourself something to aim for, take that block a couple of inches in front of your fingertips, and then this is a little bit trickier to center up since we're not actually center either, but just kind of figure out about where your forehead is going to land, and then use that, and you can place your forehead on the block, still too close. And you can rest there as you find your balance to the side. Penny, come here. Sorry. And then finally, you can also start with that block underneath toes to get those knees up a little bit taller. And you might need 2 blocks to make this one work, because you still got to get that pivot. But this allows you to get your knees higher, and you don't have to work quite so hard to pull it in to begin with, and you can focus more on finding that form, finding that balance as you shift into the hands, and then lift either one leg at a time or 2 legs to find that balance. All right.